Hello everyone, myself Minsha Khatun going to discuss a very important topic and interesting topic, necrosis. So, first I am going to discuss about the what is the definition of necrosis and why necrosis occurs in cells, how necrosis causing the cell death, what are the morphological changes taking place in necrosis, what are the patterns of tissue necrosis, what is the importance of patterns of tissue necrosis. So starting with our first question, what is the definition of necrosis? Necrosis is defined as the spectrum of morphological changes taking place in the living tissue followed by cell death, occurring because of the result of the denaturation of the intracellular proteins and enzymatic digestion of the lethally injured cell. It means there is a wide range of morphological changes taking place. There is no single change, wide range taking place inside the living tissue, which will be leading to the cell death. And in this, intracellular proteins are getting denatured and the enzymatic digestion of lethally injured cell is taking place. Second question is why necrosis is occurring in the cells. So as we know, normal cell is able to maintain a steady state which is known as homeostasis. But when this normal cell encounters any stress, then it try to overcome it by adaptation. If the normal cell is unable to adapt, or if the normal cell encounters any injurious stimulus, then that will be leading to the cell injury. Cell injury is of two types, reversible cell injury and irreversible cell injury. Reversible cell injury means the cell can recover to its normal state, and the reversible cell injury is mild and transient, whereas irreversible cell injury means the cell cannot recover to its normal state, and irreversible cell injury is severe and progressive. Irreversible cell injury lead to the cell death. Cell death occurs mainly by two processes, necrosis and apoptosis. Necrosis means the denaturation of intracellular proteins and enzymatic digestion of the lethally injured cell, whereas in apoptosis it is a programmed cell death. It is a suicide program in which cells destined to die activate the intrinsic enzyme that degrade cell's own nuclear DNA and nuclear and cytoplasmic proteins. So this is the main difference between the necrosis and apoptosis. In detail I am going to discuss about the necrosis. Third question, how necrosis causing the cell death, that is the mechanism of necrosis. In mechanism of necrosis mainly we have to know 3 points. First one is the plasma membrane is disrupted. Why plasma membrane is disrupted? As necrotic cells are unable to maintain membrane integrity, so the contents which are present in the cell, they will leak out and leading to the inflammation. Second is enzymatic digestion of lethally injured cell by two mechanisms, autolysis and heterolysis. Autolysis means enzymes that digest the necrotic cells. They are derived from the lysosomes of the dying cells themselves. Whereas heterolysis means enzymes which are digesting the necrotic cells. They are derived from the lysosomes of other cells such as leukocytes, which are inflammatory cells which came to the site of injury for protection. Third step, that is the intracellular proteins denaturation. Okay, so these 3 steps taking place in the necrotic cell leading to the necrosis. Now the fourth question is, what are the morphological changes taking place in necrosis? Morphological changes means the structural alteration taking place in the necrosis which tells about the characteristic of a disease. So in necrosis mainly 2 morphological changes taking place, cytoplasmic changes and nuclear changes. Cytoplasmic changes are the changes which are taking place in the cytoplasm, and there are 4 mainly taking place in necrosis. First one is increased eosinophilia. Second one is glassy homogeneous appearance. Third one is moth-eaten appearance. And fourth one, myelin figures. First one, increased eosinophilia in hematoxylin and eosin stain. Increased eosinophilia is because of two main reasons. First one is the loss of cytoplasmic RNA. Cytoplasmic RNA strongly binds to the hematoxylin dye, which gives blue color, that is basophilia. And the second one is the denaturation of proteins. The denatured proteins, they strongly binds with the eosin dye, giving pink color, that is increased eosinophilia. Increased eosinophilia and decreased basophilia will give eosinophilic appearance to the cytoplasm. Second one, glassy and homogeneous appearance in cytoplasm. This is because of the loss of the glycogen particles. Third one, moth-eaten appearance. In this, as enzymes digested the cytoplasmic organelles, so the cytoplasm becomes vacuolated and appears moth-eaten. Fourth one is myelin figures. Dead cells may be replaced by large whole phospholipid masses called myelin figures, and these myelin figures are derived from the damaged cell membrane. Going to discuss about the nuclear changes which are taking place in nucleus. Mainly three changes are taking place: pycnosis, karyorrhexis, karyolysis. Pycnosis means the nucleus of the cell becomes shrink and condensed, and this shrink and condensed nucleus, it binds with the hematoxylin stain, giving blue color, increased basinophilia. So initially the basophilia of the cell will be increased because of this shrink and condensed nucleus as it binds with the hematoxylin stain. Second is karyorrhexis. The pycnotic nucleus undergo fragmentation. Karyolysis means nucleus will lysed or destroyed. So basophilia of nucleus will fades away. So in necrotic cells are anucleate. They don't have nucleus. Now fifth question is, what are the patterns of tissue necrosis? There are 6 patterns of tissue necrosis, mainly 2 patterns, coagulative and liquefactive, and other 4 patterns, gangrenous, caseous, fat and fibrinoid. So these are the patterns of tissue necrosis. So we will be discussing about coagulative necrosis. Coagulative necrosis is because of the ischemia, that is loss of blood supply to a particular tissue, and the localized area is called infarct in coagulative necrosis, and coagulative necrosis occurs in all organs except the brain. So this is the coagulative necrosis, and this area is known as infarct. Now liquefactive necrosis. In liquefactive necrosis, bacterial and fungal infection takes place and it affects CNS. So this is the liquefactive necrosis which is taking place in the CNS. Third is the gangrenous necrosis, which is divided into 2 types, dry gangrene and wet gangrene. Dry gangrene is because of the ischemia leading to the coagulative necrosis. Wet gangrene is because of the bacterial and fungal infection leading to the liquefactive necrosis. It affects mainly the lower limb. So this is gangrenous. It affects mainly in the lower limb. Caseous necrosis. Granuloma formation takes place. Cheese-like appearance because of the friable white appearance, and it is mainly takes place in the patients which are suffering from tuberculosis. So this is caseous necrosis in the lungs because of tuberculosis. Cheese-like appearance is seen in the lungs. Now fat necrosis. In fat, the grossly appearance is chalky white areas. Why? Because of fat saponification, and it occurs because of acute pancreatitis. So this is about the fat necrosis. Here we can see the chalky white appearance. Fibrinoid necrosis, seen in immune reactions which are involving blood vessels. Here what happened? Fibrin and immune complexes together are formed, and here bright pink and amorphous appearance is seen in hematoxylin and eosin stains. Fibrinoid means fibrin-like. Example is immunological mediated vasculitis syndrome. So this is the fibrinoid necrosis which is taking place. Now we are going to discuss about the important points of the patterns of tissue necrosis in detail. First, starting with the coagulative necrosis. The coagulative necrosis cells are dead, but the outline and the architecture of the cells are preserved at least for few days. And the main cause of the cell injury in coagulative necrosis is denaturation of the proteins. During denaturation of the proteins, not only the structural proteins are getting denatured, but also the enzymes which are present in the cells are also getting denatured. So as a result, no enzyme inside the cell. Because of that reason, architecture is preserved in coagulative necrosis. As you can see here, coagulative necrosis architecture is preserved, and the localized area in the coagulative necrosis is known as infarct. Liquefactive necrosis. In liquefactive necrosis, cells are getting severely damaged, not because of the denaturation of the proteins, but also because of the enzyme degradation. So in liquefactive necrosis, cells are getting severely damaged because of the enzymatic degradation, but not because of the denaturation of the proteins. So here enzymatic degradation takes place by two, autolysis and heterolysis, which we discussed earlier, and they are digesting the entire damaged area and making it liquid. Liquefactive necrosis, why it takes place in brain? Because in brain we have lot of macroglial cells, and they contain lot of enzymes, and this may cause of liquefactive necrosis in brain, as enzymes degradation taking place in liquefactive necrosis, and in brain we have lot of enzymes because of the macroglial cells, and hence liquefactive necrosis is taking place in brain. So this is liquefactive necrosis which is taking place in brain. Gangrenous necrosis is of two types. First one is the drying gangrene. It occurs because of the ischemia leading to the coagulative necrosis. Second one is the wet gangrene. It because of the bacterial and fungal infections, and the bacteria will release harmful agents, and also the enzymes are released by the inflammatory cells. They will be leading to this coagulative necrosis. It mainly seen in the lower limbs. Okay. Now the next is caseous necrosis. In caseous necrosis, we will be seeing the granuloma formation. Granuloma formation means the necrotic area appear as structureless collection of fragmented or lysed cells and amorphous granular debris enclosed within a distinct inflammatory border. So this is caseous necrosis. Here the cells are lysed, that is the breakdown. They are fragmented, and amorphous granular debris will be seen in this place, in this area, leading to the coagulative necrosis. It's seen mainly with the patients which are affected by tuberculosis, and it affects the lungs. So next is fat necrosis. In fat, what happens? It is seen mainly with the patients which are affected by acute pancreatitis. So the patients who do not have pancreatitis, what happens? Normally pancreas contains lipase. So these lipase are not released inside the pancreas, but via pancreatic duct, lipase go into the intensive, and they help in fat intestine, and they help in fat digestion. So these lipase which are present in the pancreas, they are not released in the pancreas, but they go to the intestine via pancreatic duct and help in fat digestion. But in acute pancreatitis, what happens? They get released into the pancreas, results in the fat necrosis. And in fat necrosis, we will be seeing chalky white appearance. Why? Because of the fat saponification. Why? Because this lipase, they will be breaking down these triglycerides into fatty acids. So when calcium binds with the fatty acids, it will be resulting in fat saponification, giving chalky white appearance of that affected area. Now fibrinoid necrosis. In fibrinoid necrosis, antigen and antibody complex, they will be getting deposited in the blood vessel, resulting in the cell injury. Fibrin leaks out of the blood vessels and it will be giving the pink appearance of the surrounding of the blood vessel under hematoxylin and eosin stain. So this is the fibrin which is leaking out of the blood vessels and it is giving the pink appearance and under the hematoxylin and eosin stain, leading to the fibrinoid necrosis. So now we are going to discuss the last question, why we need to know these patterns of tissue necrosis. What is the importance of knowing the patterns of tissue necrosis? So as the necrosis of tissue has several morphologically distinct patterns, that is mainly the 6 patterns which we discussed here, they are important to recognize because they may provide clues about the underlying cause. As we see in coagulative necrosis, there is infarction taking place. So by coagulative necrosis, we can know that infarction is taking place. And in liquefactive necrosis, we know that mainly it affects the CNS. In fat necrosis, acute pancreatitis. In caseous necrosis, tuberculosis. So these patterns are giving us the clues about the underlying cause, that it is tuberculosis or any other disease. Thank you very much.